Yes, it is a basic skill.
Okay.
Okay, what do you want to do? Just look
Almost
at it?
like, almost like freaking Crocodile Dundee with like dogs and stuff, you know.
Interesting, interesting choice, but all right, you are you just sort of raise your hands in a non-threatening stance and just give out to the best of your ability a relaxing and in control vibe, and the steed his stomping kind of slowly comes to an end, and he seems to relax, and he looks at you for a good while, and he slowly approaches the gate. And when he gets up to the edge of it, he kind of leans forward to try and sniff at you, essentially.
I will push a hand out very slowly and gently.
All right, it seems it is able to physically reach you, and it does. Oh, hold on, let me roll something real quick. Yeah, it's fine. It
Bites my
does.
hand off.
It it takes in a few very loud sniffs because this thing's lungs are just like bellows. And before it kind of lets out a snort, and it just kind of stands there and is pretty chill. And you see its horse just kind of lazily switching.
I will pet it to, go up to its muzzle and not muzzle. They don't have muzzles, do they? I don't know the horse speak. But I will go up to its head and
Watch,
pat
there's gonna
it.
be an equestrian in chat that's just gonna be
Yeah,
pissed.
yeah, it's gonna be fucking furious. But I will go up and pat it and kind of scratch its head, um, and say, "And how did you acquire this one?"
um, Sebastian's both eyebrows are raised, and he goes, "Okay, I understand why you were sent to pick the horse then." He kind of coughs and says, anyway, this one is the, he says, this is Esmeralda, actually. She's a pretty well documented descendant of a line of war horses. She was bred very specifically. That's how she gets to her size. But to say that she's been a difficult child would be a bit of a grotesque understatement.
I will nod and say, "There are scars on her. Can you tell me about those?"
He nods irritatedly and says, "Yeah, those are what I like to fondly refer to as breakout attempts." And he kind of gestures to the gate and says, "This is not a rare occurrence."
I will nod, and say, "Has anyone thus far offered to take Esmeralda?"
He smirks and says, "Oh, there's been a few, how should I say, brave individuals, some noble sons who thought they were the second coming of Ulrich or Sigmar, whatever, uh, whichever you prefer. And to say that, well, let's just say she was returned awfully quick once her rider learned that she was not." He kind of pauses again and says, "This horse would need a very determined rider, not someone who's just going to give up in a mere broken bone or something." Though I guess the one whose hip she shattered, that was a fair excuse. I'll give him that one. But the other two were just children, cowards.
Can I recall back to Raymond's horse and its temperament?
Sure. Oh yes, sorry. Clements, you didn't really know him super well. The steed was extremely loyal, and it almost seemed like an extension of Reeman's body, the way that it was able to flow in combat with him. The only time it seemed disturbed or seemed like it was being actively bothered was when it battled the bear. And what exactly caused that is difficult to say. But outside of that, every time you saw it, it was either just chilling out and eating or sleeping, or Riemann was riding it somewhere. And Clemens was notably smaller than Esmeralda is. I mean, Esmeralda's a fucking monster of a horse.
I will nod and say, well, here is what I would like to propose. I need to see this animal at speed. My Sir Raymond is one of those Bretonians that enjoys having the air fly through his hair. I'm curious to see what Esmeralda can do in open field.
He nods and says, well, we got a couple of practice runs here. Hop on up.
I will blink.
He goes, oh, do you need a saddle? I can, and he lets out a whistle and motions for some boys to come over.
I would prefer that a master horseman do this.
He gives you kind of a quizzical look, and he kind of looks at the horse, and you can almost feel like a small wave of heat start to radiate off the steed as other people start approaching.
I guess I'll pat the horse and okay, so I will attempt this. Let's do this for shits and giggles. Do elves ride with saddles?
What elves traditionally do not.
Okay, then I won't.
Some do, but many don't.
I'll do whatever's traditional to me.
Okay, in the Pine Crags, you would probably not, because most people there are going to ride, like, warhawks and stuff.
Alright. Here we go.
Alright, you get up onto Esmeralda's back, which, roll an athletics check. For being an elf and your height, it is easy, so it's plus 20. Ooh, that's lucky.
Oh, yeah.
So you manage it, though it is almost an uncomfortable sit, just due to the creature's sheer bulk. And
but I will continue patting it and continuing my. I'm doing everything I can to stay in control.
Okay, you are notably well off the ground, and it's a little bit exhilarating. You never partook in warhawk riding, right?
I was trained in it, yes.
Okay, so compared to that, this is nothing.
Yeah.
So the Sebastian very carefully creeps forward and unlocks the gate and opens it, and gestures for you to bring the horse to follow him.
I shall attempt to.
Okay, take a very easy ride check just to get it somewhat under control.
Which is what? Very easy is what?
Plus 60. All right, you give a small nudge with your ankles, and Esmeralda starts trotting forwards.
Why does it say no attribute was found for verve ride? That's weird.
I'll try to roll it to see if it's...
Yeah, see if it's a ride bug.
Yep, it's a ride bug. I don't even have to make the roll. I just click the button. It says no attribute found.
Okay.
But it uses agility.
Yeah.
1 second. Oh, you know what? That's probably because... 1 second. That's probably because you would very rarely use the ride skill. You would use the you would create a new group skill for it, because ride is one of those ones where there's like a bunch of different versions.
Okay.
Based on the steed, because that's why it's in italics. But is that the case for all italics? Try rolling like art or stealth and see if it says the same thing.
I did stealth earlier,
Nope.
but
It doesn't?
yeah, nothing
Okay.
did.
That's weird. So just create a new entry for when we need to use the right skill.
Okay.
Anyway, so that'll pass. So the horse goes forward and he leads you out to a. It's not a super large range, but because it's basically built into this field that goes by the wall, but it's it's good enough to get like a good solid run going and leap over a few obstacles. And he hops behind a wooden fence that says, "Whenever you're ready."
I will whisper to Esmeralda and say, "Show me what you can do."
Hopefully, it understands.
You. I guess I can't keep that right. What do you want me to do here?
All right, are you gonna just like go for it?
Yep.
All right, roll me a. You're going to roll a hard right check, so that's gonna be -20.
And this is basically
Agility.
okay. Stupid thing. Whoa, that's weird. Let me try this again.
Hey, Riss, try using a skill that pulls from the agility stat beside ride.
There.
Did it work?
Stealth is agility, and it works.
Okay, that was weird. All right. Anyway, yeah, 8's fine. So, you let out a hya and give a pretty solid kick, and the Esmeralda takes off at a crazy sprint, and you are able to hold on to her mane, but it is a pretty intense ride. Like, this horse books it and is moving incredibly fast. Because although she is quite large, she's not to the extent of like a Clydesdale where they just like can't run very well. She's able to definitely pick up some good speed. Though while she's riding, you do get the very strong sense after a few minutes of it that she is probably not the best design for sheer endurance when it comes to like running a long distance. But when it comes to a charge, this thing puts out an absurd amount of power and speed. But you see your first obstacle coming up. Do you want to try and stop her or leap it?
I will leap it.
Roll another right check at -20. It's up to you.
There.
As you ride up to the large fence, a part of your brain is really not okay with this set of circumstances you've managed to maneuver yourself into, but you just sort of hold on for dear life, and it leaps very smoothly and cleanly right over the obstacle before slamming back down to the ground and giving you probably a nice healthy bruise on your thighs, as you are not used to riding horses. And it continues to plow onwards.
Okay. So what's in front of me? What's left?
There is one more obstacle you can try and leap, and then it basically goes into a turn to loop back around to a different track, but the same field.
I'm gonna try and pull her up, alongside the fence where what's his face is waiting.
Okay. So you start to direct her towards that position, but then you notice that she kind of starts to pull against you and assert her own will a bit. So roll an animal. The closest thing you're gonna have is animal care, but you're gonna be at -10.
Well, I don't have animal care.
Sorry,
animal care is
whatever the thing you rolled earlier was.
Charm animal.
There you go. But it's at -10.
Mm,
Okay.
not great.
You kind of pull at it, or pull at her hair or her mane, and Esmeralda fights you a fair bit on it, and she keeps moving towards the objective. And she almost starts to slow down a little bit, but then she does pick up speed and goes for the leap. Roll another -20 right check.
Mm.
All right, you leap into the air, and as she slams back down on the ground, you bounce hard and don't have any stirrups or anything to grip yourself in. So you just bounce completely to the side and end up falling. Roll an athletics check to not eat shit.
Yeah. Fuck!
All right, you slam into the ground, and y'all were booking it. So you're gonna hit the ground really bad, really hard, and are going to wipe out and roll out really, really well, and well in like a bad sense. So, roll a d100, and then tell me what the hit location is. A 5? That's your head. Ain't it?
Faceplant.
All right, roll me a d100 as you take a critical wound to your head. A 4? All right, you get a dramatic injury. You get a fight. So as you impact the ground, your head unfortunately is the first thing that comes into contact, and you just get gashed across your forehead and your left cheek by just the hard earth that's been pounded down by horses traveling across it, and it just tears into your skin. So you get a really ugly set of scratches across both that start bleeding profusely. Gain 1 bleed condition until the wound is healed.
Right.
However, once you get the wound healed, for all future appropriate social checks, you get +1 success level for your impressive scar.
Oh my god.
Nice.
Oh, also take like roll a d10. Take 3 damage
Okay.
with no modifiers, just flat 3.
Okay. Okay.
All right, and the horse
Barrels on, probably.
yeah, barrels on, but slowly but surely comes to a stop. And you hear a very loud "oh shit" come from Sebastian's direction. And as you're laying on the ground groaning because everything is dizzy and your face really fucking hurts, someone rolls you over gently, and Sebastian looks very concerned.
I will actually just start giggling. Just start giggling as I kind of sit there for a moment to collect myself.
He frowns, and he shouts something behind him, but you don't quite catch it. And he looks down at you and he goes, "Are you all right?"
My head will be ringing for a couple days, likely. And I will reach for like my pouch.
Oh, lose
What?
1 wound due to bleeding. BT dubs.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to fix. Pretty much immediately was that.
If you use a healing poultice, someone you will need to have a heal check rolled, which Sebastian can do and he offers to.
Yeah, I will let him.
All right, so he will attempt a heal check with the healing poultice. All right, you heal back to full, and you lose the bleed condition.
Okay.
And you also do not need to test for infection.
Okay.
Oh
I
wait, the
will-
bandage is what gets rid of the. So you'll need to use a bandage as well.
Yeah,
to get rid
I'll
of the
use.
condition. All right.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So he bandages up your face, so you got kind of like a nice half mummy thing going right now. And uses the healing poultice to make sure you don't get an infection, unless you want to tempt the infection and not consume it. It's up to you.
No, I'll use it because I don't want no
Okay.
goddamn infection.
All right, and he leads you out while he leaves the stable hands to go gather up the horse again. He seems very concerned.
I will dust myself off and I will still smile and say, it was exhilarating except for the final part.
He nods and says, "Yeah, I hear that a lot. You're lucky you didn't land on your neck."
I will say with training that could be a very passionate horse.
He nods and says, "If this Sir Perquin guy is a good rider, or at least gifted with horses, then yeah, it would probably make, if he knows how to handle a lance, I don't think there's any creature in the Drakewall that would be standing up to a charge from that thing."
I will nod and say, very well. What I will do is I will return to Sir Raymond and report my findings. I believe I have found him a suitable mount. It just needs to know who's boss.
He beams and says, "Excellent, excellent. I'll make sure the documentation is drawn up before I go to bed."
I nod. May I retire for now to attend to this, and I will kind of tentatively touch my head.
Yeah, he looks worriedly at you once more. He almost seems to be checking if you have a concussion or not. He says, yes, of course. I'll see you on the morrow then."
I will nod, and I will head off.
Okay. How are you going to find the other two?
That is a good question. Yeah, we didn't set up a rendezvous point.
You could always stay somewhere else for the night.
Well, we did. I told you I'd come back to get you.
Oh,
Oh, are you just gonna stay there then?
yeah, I'll wait for Rist.
All right. Where are you gonna wait specifically? And Riz, how long would you wait before you went?
I was finishing my meals and heading over.
Okay.
I'll head off. I'll make sure that I'm off the ranch grounds, and kind of waiting to where the road probably turns into a path.
Okay. Rist, you start making your way there. Verv, as you're standing there, you do roll. 1 second. I have to check something. Gotta check how this works again.
My sixth sense.
Let's see. Yes, roll me an intuition check. It's flat, so no bonuses, no minuses.
Come on.
Hey, Chloe. Hold on a second, I gotta close the door.
Oh, come on, says the person who rolled 2 8s on skills they needed a 24.
But still, I don't want to get snuck up on and get hit again.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Well, I mean, your impenetrable hood will guard you.
All right. So, you are just kind of minding your own business, and then when you look up for a moment, you see a cloaked individual standing in the middle of the street looking at you.
I will kind of lean on my staff. How far away is he?
Probably about like 20 yards.
He's a cloaked individual.
Uh-huh.
All black.
Yep. Very hide my identity kind of clothing.
Does he have weapons drawn?
He does not. He just seems to be standing there.
I will lean on my staff and watch him.
Okay.
At the same time, I'm gonna look around now.
All right. As you look
like-
around, you realize that there's another one standing in the road behind you, about 20 yards. And in every alleyway between the two of them, there's also another person standing there.
I will let out an
The man
okay.
who is, well, what you assume is a man, in front of you slowly starts to approach you, and both of his hands retract within his robes.
I will say, can I help you, gentlemen?
Sorry, one second.
Because if he doesn't, like, stop moving when I say this, I'm probably going to start channeling.
Okay. Let me read something real quick. Okay. The man in front of you pauses, though his hands are still in his jacket, or his robes, and he says, "Identify yourself."
As I seem to be surrounded, a lone woman, I am known as Verve. Who might you be?
There's a pause, and he said, with a low chuckle, he responds, well, that would be telling, which right now, if you can't tell, I'm trying to avoid. Did you come from the Hager Cribs?
In the service of Lord Anders.
Anders who?
I will tap my chin and say, because I don't think I wrote down his last name.
Von Brunner.
It was brought up this session.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yes. The halfling brought it up.
Anders von Brunner. Do you know him?
As you say that, his hands come out and he's holding two pistols. And he says, now isn't that a curious coincidence?
What is a coincidence, sir?
He's going to point one of the pistols at you, and you hear the ominous sound of steel being unsheathed all around you. And the man asks, what business were you doing up in the Hager Cribs?
For myself, I went up there to apply for a job. A good part of it was killing goblins. But Lord Anders is looking into old fairy tales.
One of the others from around you, one of the people in the alley, is a woman, and she says, cut to the chase already. Take off your hood. Let us see your head.
I will turn to wherever that came from, and I will say, you already know what is under my hood.
There's a tutting from the man. Wrist, you arrive at this point. You're still a ways off, and they haven't noticed you yet, but you obviously see them. And you see that Verve is surrounded.
I see a man with a pistol, though.
Two pistols. Ew, that's
I
unfortunate.
immediately tried not to draw attention to myself,
Uh,
but will approach.
Okay, so the man with the pistols actually doesn't notice you, but the guy behind Verve, who's facing your direction, is holding...
I thought Verve was in an alley.
No, Verve's in a street.
Okay.
There are people in each of the alley entrances, and there's a person on the street on either side of her. Which the one behind her, which is facing you, is holding a knife and some kind of saber, and he points at your direction and he says, "Oi! You there!"
Ah, what is it, sir? And I will pop to attention.
And the man with the pistols turns around, and he has one pistol trained on Verve, and he points the other at you. And he says, "Oh, it's the halfling."
Oh, now isn't that rude? I look at this man. Is this the man I met this afternoon?
No, you have no idea who he is. His face is hidden.
Okay.
Well,
I have night vision.
His face is covered.
Gotcha.
Basically, I'm gonna keep leaning on my staff as if I'm unconcerned, even though I am.
Okay. He gestures with his pistol for you to go stand next to Verve.
All right. I will walk over to Verve, wanting to not be in line of fire.
All right.
Oh, what is this? Brigands in the street accosting honest citizens. It's much to be ashamed of.
Two of the hooded figures look at each other, but the man says, "We need to see your head. Now."
I will, say, "And what good will this accomplish?"
He cocks his pistol.
"You're going to shoot me for not lowering my hood."
I'm
What-
sorry, is there a law of the Empire I'm not aware of?
What a noble gentleman you are.
Sotek,
Yep.
what role would it be if I want to inquire what their legal authority is to point guns at people in the street?
If you are able... let me see. That would depend on how well your halfling knows the law.
Better than most people, in that it's mostly made up.
And B, it would be you could either attempt... you could attempt an intimidate. You could attempt charm. So basically, you can try and intimidate them by insinuating that you know the law and they may or may not be doing something illegal, or you can charm them to try and get them to chill out a little bit, but you don't know who they are, so using leadership, plus I don't think you even have leadership.
I do.
Oh, you do? So you could try... Oh, leadership's basic.
Yeah, leadership is basic.
You could try leadership if you're wanting to, like, assert authority, but otherwise you will want to rely on either charm or intimidation. And basically what you say will just influence your roll.